Okay, everybody, Shavua Tov, Good Vach. We're learning the month of Elul, and it's sponsored by the Silver family in memory of Bas Yefega Bas Yisrael, the Aaron family in memory of Levi ben Yosef, by Mindy Barad for the refuah of Sarah Bas Rachel Fega, and by Shira and Yonatan Wiesen for the refuah of Leah Shoshana Bas Malya, L'Shav refuah Shlema Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, perfect timing, Yofi. So we're embarking on an absolutely beautiful journey this morning. A beautiful, beautiful journey. I want to start with a tefillah, please God. Hashem should guide us in such a way that is shayach to each of our individual family dynamic in its own way. Because we're going to be discussing things that may sound like it's like this is how you do it, and there's no such thing. This is how you open your heart, maybe, but not this is how you do it. This is a world that I've wanted to do for many years. This sefer has been on my shelf for probably, I could actually tell because I write the date all the time when I buy a sefer. This sefer has been on my shelf for about 7 years, 7 years. And I'm always like, I look at it, it's one of these farm, I think I said this last week, you walk into your room and you either feel like, it's so beautiful, you have this farm around you, or this farm are looking at you like, no, Maya, what's gonna be? This is one of these farm. It's like, Maya, what's gonna be? But Hashem runs the world. Hashem gives us what we need when we need it. And of course, when it comes to the concept of chinuch yeladim, who could say, yeah, well, that really wasn't shayach for a year ago, or 2 years, 3 years ago. And this is shayach really for any parent at any given age, and every child as well. So I just wanted to open up with the tefillah that Hashem should see how His kinderlach are coming to Him and trying to open their hearts and take the most advantage of the blissful privilege of being a parent, of having a child. It should be a segula for those that need to have children as well. That should be very important. And together we're going to embark on a journey from the sefer that's called Et Yeladecha. Et Yeladecha, Das Yeladecha. The author of the sefer, like I wrote in the notes, I wrote in some group or something, the author is Rav Itamar Schwartz. Rav Itamar Schwartz is the author of the Bilvavi Mishkan Evne. And we learned Bilvavi for a long time. It was a sefer, I think actually it was the first sefer we started with Women's Chabura maybe 9-10 years ago. And that sefer kept us really unified together with the Hachvana. And the lashon of the Bilvavi is very, very clear. It's very clear. It's very straightforward. Very, very thought-provoking, but definitely demands of us to really stretch ourselves, stretch our imagination of who we could be, our imagination of our perception of what could be in this world, what could be for us. And his words are banui, they're built in meyusad, they're built in a very mesudadik way. There's an order here, there's a shlav, there's a seder. It really goes in a beautiful way. Any conversation I've had with any of you, or that I'm sure I will have with any of you, half of the stuff we speak about are things that are going to be coming up in this sefer. I don't know how long it's going to take us, but again, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter if, some they'd say about, I'll explain to you. Sometimes about davening, people ask, so you guys daven really long? I always say, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. It's like, yeah, but if, and sometimes maybe davening is much shorter than what people expect. Who cares about length of it? It doesn't matter. If something gets in, it could take sometimes an hour. It could take three hours. Not that the shiur is going to take 3 hours. I'm just saying, in general, it could take longer. These things don't matter. What matters is that we take from the yisodos that is brought down in this sefer, lemaisa. That it should be lemaisa. This shouldn't be theoretical. Everything we learn in here should be lemaisa. And I'll say one more thing. I have a very, very dear friend. I've said his name many, many times, bless you. His name is Cliff. Who here has heard of Cliff before in this room? Cliff Notes. Cliff he's a cliffhanger. Cliff is a very dear friend. About 13 years ago, 14 years ago, I told him I can't teach. There was something we were going to learn. He says, I can't teach this. He said, why? Why can't you teach this? I know you know how to give this over. I said, I know, but I'm not there yet. I can't give over things that I myself am struggling with. And he looked at me with such eyes of basically saying, you think that what you said was holy right now, but that's mamish such a wrong thing to say. Why? Because sometimes the Yetzer Hara comes when there's something so potent to learn. The Yetzer Hara comes and says, until you've mastered this, and until you are the Torah that you're giving over, how do you have the chutzpah to say such a thing? How could you give over? What a gaiva. What. So I'm saying over here that this is something we're learning, my wife and I were learning together with you. This is a biyachad. This is together. And I believe that with the right just approach and the bittul to the words that the tzaddik has to tell us over here, Be'ez Hashem, not just our children will benefit, not just our home will benefit, Klal Yisrael, the community, everyone's going to benefit from it. Everyone will benefit from it. I will be working on purchasing the sefer. I haven't gotten to that yet, and I apologize. But for now, I'm going to be making copies on Sunday mornings. And we're going to dive in, we're going to jump in over here. And I thank you all for coming. Okay, so many people, like the majority of people are always looking for, when it comes to chinuch, what are they looking for? They're looking for, people to explain to them what to say, what not to say, how to teach good habits, how to respond or not respond, how to teach children how to do kibud horim. I'm sure that's why you're all here, right? You're all here to figure out ways how to teach your children how to mechabed. That's not what's happening in here. And how to deal with when children go through different stages of maturity, v'chulei. But this sefer kimat doesn't deal with these types of things, because the point of this sefer is to basically to expand on the notion that aside from all the right things that you're supposed to do, we're trying to build a binyan rikshi. We're trying to build a building here, an emotional, stable building that should exist between parent and child, a healthy emotional building that should exist between parents and children. And to also mechanech our children that they themselves should have a binyan machshavti. They should have a thoughtful, skillful machshavti, really thoughtful approach in themselves, that we put in them some kind of binyan saying, that you mamish made out of something incredible, you can build something absolutely incredible as well. That's what we're trying to do over here. So as we see, first we're going to start slowly in Chelek Aleph, in Perek Aleph over here. As you see, the first chapter is called Ofen Yetzirat HaTashtit LeChinuch HaYeladim, which means how we create the infrastructure when it comes to the world of chinuch. Just the infrastructure. We're speaking mamash basic concepts over here that I believe will be dvarim hashavim l'chol nefesh, things that are equal to everyone where they're at. Echad hamanosim hayoter me'anyanim et hatzibur bedoreinu hu chinuch yeladim. These are one of the topics, obviously, that people are most interested by when it comes to chinuch. But כאשר ניגשים לעסוק בנושא זה יש לדעת כי למעט הלכות בודדות בשולחן ערוך שנוגעות לכך, אין סימן העוסק בהלכות חינוך ילדים בשולחן ערוך. Did anyone ever come across הלכות ילדים when you were learning halacha? Anyone ever stumble upon a Mishnah or a Masechta in the Gemara that's called Masechet Yeladim? No? Well, I heard Rav Shlomo say the most beautiful thing. He said that, we say about Eliyahu, it says, V'heishiv lev avos al banim, v'lev banim al avosam. Eliyahu, Mashiach, the Masechta, called Masechet Yeladim, is the Masechet that Mashiach is going to be teaching us. But if our whole inyan of what we're trying to do here is usher in the day of the Geula and the period of time of redemption, so as much as we're focusing on big things like Binyan Beis HaMikdash, dwelling the land, abolishing all our enemies, v'chule, that are all things that are very, very much part of the Geula process, learning and beautifying and intensifying our understanding of how the world of chinuch is a huge, huge piece in the context of Geula itself. But when you look in Chazal, you barely see anything. There is no Hilchot Yeladim. There's no Masechta Yeladim. That's because it's waited for this dar to be doresh it, to demand it, to ask of it. To ask of it. One time, I think it was in the name of Reb Tzedek Cohen, I don't remember who was it. It said, all it will really take for the Geula to come is one father or one mother that will stand before the Ribono Shel Olam and say, as much as I know you believe in me, and I know how much you've given me, and you've blessed me with all the good azach and all the good things, be'emes la'amitai, you and I know, Ribono Shel Olam, only Mashiach can really reveal to my child how much I love them. Only Mashiach, a world of Mashiach, could reveal to my children how much you love them. So Geula is a core of how, it's a core it's a silent core. It's in the background of everything that we're going to be learning, because Chazal, it's not so clear. There's only halachot bodedot. There's only a few halachas, and I guarantee that if you actually found certain halachas that you saw that speak about chinuch, it wouldn't leave you with the greatest taste in your mouth either. Does anyone know what I'm referring to? Yeah, basically, there are certain halachos that have some kind of context of hitting children. These are not the things this is not what we're looking. Oh, I found it! Finally, I found the Chazal I was looking for. That's not what it's not going to satiate, not only will it not satiate our souls, it may leave a really sour taste. So what are we supposed to do? If everything we're supposed to be doing, if our approach to everything is supposed to be al pi Chazal and al pi Torah, Ribono Shel Olam, would you leave us for the wolves? Like what? What'd you leave us? What are we going to do with anything? Zot ve'od, second paragraph. Al af shebisifrei chochmei hadoros hakodmim yeshnam nosim rabim shedanu behem, מכל מקום לא מצאנו חיבור בספרי קדמוננו רבותינו העוסק בחינוך ילדים, ואף לא מאמרים קצרים יותר שעוסקים בהם. Forget about halacha, forget about Shulchan Aruch, forget about Masechtas, even Sfarim. When you look back, even actual Sfarim that would be so helpful if they were basically like, Ahavas HaYeled, Ahavat HaYeled, or something like that. We also haven't found, or ma'amarim, or discourses. ומכיוון שאין מקורות ברורים בנושא הזה, לכן הפרצה בזה רבה. Since we lack the text that we generally need in order to learn things, therefore the pirza, right? The pirza really means the opening, but in the context over here, it means that's the reason why people mess up so much. In the name of the Torah. In the name of the Torah of chinuch. That's why people mess up so often. ורבים הם אשר ניגשים לעסוק בנושא זה ללא תשתית בנויה מן המקורות. And many people approach the whole concept of chinuch without a tashtit. Tashtit? Any of you have been on the line, on the phone with Bezek? Or with internet? That's really how we know this word. Tashtit, the infrastructure. That's why there's no infrastructure. Without an infrastructure, clear infrastructure from the Makoros and the sources, what are you going to work with? Umeachar, however, Umeachar shedarkeinu kederech Yehudim. We're Jewish people. Shebechol noseh oto anu nigashim levarer, with every single thing that we're going to try to refine and get deeper clarity about. Einenu oskim bo mikoach hahigayon hapashut v'anisayon shel anshei hamiktzah bilvad, which basically means it's not enough to read every parenting book in the world that exists that may be good for our holy brothers and sisters that are not from Amcha Beis Yisrael in order to know how to parent. But that's obviously we're dealing with Yiddish and neshamas, Jewish souls. That's a different zach. So even though there are plenty of books on parenting that I'm sure many of us have, אלא אנו משתדלים לדון בו מכוח מסורת אבות. We have to figure out a way, even though the text is chaser, we have to go and look at it through the masoret, through our tradition of our mothers and fathers. ומתוך בירור המקור והשורש שנעוץ בתורה הקדושה. And by verifying the source and the root that is etched in our holy Torah, החל מהדברים שכתובים בחומש, ועד דברי חז"ל הקדושים והמפרשים. And that's what I love about this sefer. This sefer is obviously not another parenting book. We will be developing ideas and deepening our understanding of things when it comes to the topic of chinuch, but really it is all built through the stories of Chazal, the stories in the Torah, and the Mefarshim. שהרי שאף בסוגיה זו של חינוך ילדים בה אנו עוסקים, ננסה עד כמה שניתן ללבן את הדברים על פי דברי חז"ל הקדושים. Do you know what that word means? ללבן? Oh no, not Lavan. No, lelaben over here means to clarify. It means to clarify. ללבן את הדברים על פי דברי חז"ל הקדושים, שבאמצעותם נזכה להגיע להבנה כיצד עלינו להתנהג בחיי יום-יום. That'll give us an understanding of how we act day to day, day to day. This is just the intro. But now we're going to get a little bit to the meat of the day, and we're going to start easy. Very, very smooth. This is a sugya that I know each of you in this room cries over every single day. I have no doubt about it. Each of you has cried over this sugya every single day. And even when things are good, you're crying for it to be better. And even when it gets better, you're crying over it for it to be more exact. And even when it's more exact, you know that it could always be better and better and better and better. This whole parsha. What are we trying to establish over here? You see the subtopic of the subtitle of the next topic, Gesher ben mechanech lechanich. We're trying to build the holy, proper, and exact bridge between a mechanech, an educator, and a chanich. You know what a chanich is? Apprentice, yeah, a student, on the receiving end, so to speak. So now we're starting to learn it inside. כלל ראשון ויסודי הוא שלעולם החינוך מורכב משני צדדים. חינוך, always, it takes two to tango, basically. It's always two sides. מצד אחד יש את המחנך. On the one hand, there's the one that's כאילו educating. ובצד שני ניצב החניך. The one that's on the receiving end, the student, the apprentice. מכיוון שכך, ברור הדבר שחייב להיות גשר שדרכו יהיה ניתן להעביר ולהשפיע מהמחנך לחניך. There must be a bridge through which things can be passed over, given over, from the one that's standing on the world of being a mechanech to the chanich. I know what some of you are already thinking, that at a certain point in our lives, the orders get reversed, and I don't know at what age, for each person it's different, that we become the mechanech, and our parents, my mother's not here right now, so I could say it, and the parents become the chanich. It's just me that thinks like that sometimes? No? Am I the only one that actually thinks that? No, okay, no. Yes, Mindy.
Can you give this class to Misrad HaChinuch?
Misrad HaHorim, Misrad HaChinuch.
It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street. There has to be a bridge. Now, I want to say like this. What's probably the most famous words of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Rabbi Nachman ben Feges, Chis Yagen Aleinu? Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, v'ha'ikar lo. Thank you, good, we're doing good. Lehitpached klal. Not lefached, v'ha'ikar lo lehitpached klal. And I'm thinking about this line more and more because of this shiur. The whole world is but a narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not lehitpached. Is the word that Rabbi Nachman said. He didn't say the word lefached. That just fit better. Actually, the truth is, every year I say that I'm finally going to approach the composer of this nigun and ask him, because I know him, Rabbi Baruch Chait. You know Rabbi Baruch Chait? He also wrote Mi Ha'ish and many, many other great, the greatest nigunim. And I have his number. You know what? I should just call him today. Just ask him. Say, what's the inyan? Besides it, maybe stimming better in the V'ha'ikar, lo lehitpached. We have to smudge it in instead of lo lefached, right? But Rabbi Nachman, you look inside Likutei Moharan, Rabbi Nachman says lehitpached. It's a world of a difference. Lehitpached means, lefached means we know. The most important thing is don't have fear, don't be scared. Lehitpached means don't cause yourself to get freaked out. It's a completely different world. The world is meshuggah enough. Don't cause yourself to get more meshuggah and freaked out from it. So when it comes to parenting, kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, and you have this micro world in the big world that you live in called parenting, and it feels sometimes that it's such a narrow bridge over here. My God, everything is so delicate. One word that I say can, you may have heard a shiur once that someone said, you can make that one comment to your kid at the age of 7, and when they're 43, a mother of 5, they're in therapy over that one word. You said, Ma'asim shahayu. No, I'm not making this stuff up. These are things that I've spoken to people about this. So you hear these stories like, oh my God, this is insane, this is free. Lehitpached. And you make yourself meshuggah. Not only about not saying harsh things, even like the way I say I love you, you start doubting, wait, if I say I love you, have a good day, if they may hear something completely different, and you start freaking yourself out over that too. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because Rabbi Nassan of Breslov gave a name to the bridge. He says this in Likutei Halachos. We just know it's called a narrow bridge. Rabbi Nassan gave a name to the bridge. And he says, if you know what the name of the bridge is, and that's how you cross it, then it may start off as tsar, but it gets rachav and rachav and rachav and more rachav. What's the name of the bridge? Emet. Truth. Truth is the name of this bridge. It's true. The world is but a narrow bridge. But when I understand that the way to cross this narrow bridge is to identify it by its name, emet, then I'll be able to cross it, and I won't cause myself lehitpached. I won't cause myself to freak out more and more and more. In the context of the shiurim that we're going to be learning, we are not declaring here, bless you, we are not declaring here, this is the emet of chinuch. And no real shiur ever opens up like that about anything in the world that says, this is the emes. What we're trying to mechaven to over here is to understand that in order to build things, there's an emet way of building things, and there's a sheker way of building things, of building infrastructures. That is dvarim hashavim lechol nefesh. Building in tashtit can have an emet. How it then gets interpreted between your personal relationship with your child, well, once you have the infrastructure to do it, it's yours. It's your emet, it's your emet. Your emet is different than this person's emet. Obviously, what works for your child will not work for that child. And they're both emet because it's different emets, but the tashtit is the same. And the infrastructure that we have is chazal. And that's what we're trying to plug in over here. And chazal are going to explain to us over here that we need to develop the gesher. We need to understand the gesher has to be emet. The bridge between parent and child has to always be emet. What does that mean? Let's see what the mechaber takes. Let's see what he takes us to. So I'm going to read it again, this first paragraph on the bottom. Klal rishon v'yisodihu shele'olam hachinuch murkav mishnei tzdadim. מצד אחד יש את המחנך ובצד השני ניצב החניך. מכיוון שכך, since on one hand there's the מחנך, the other hand there's the חניך, ברור הדבר שחייב להיות גשר שדרכו יהיה ניתן להעביר ולהשפיע מהמחנך לחניך. Since that's the case, there must be a bridge through which you can pass and inform and mashpia from one to the other. But there's a certain way we have to do this in order to give over, to be a mechanech, to educate. Mashal davar dama. What's the parable over here? Adam harotze lehavir mashke מבקבוק לבקבוק אחר. I mess up with this all the time, and our tablecloths are aidus to this. A person that wants to pour liquid from one bottle to the other. אם הוא ינסה להעבירו ישירות מבקבוק אחד למשנהו, if you're going to try to pour directly from one bottle into the other, בדרך כלל התוצאה תהיה שחלק מן המשקה יוזל החוצה. It's laws of nature, science, meaning it's not like you're doing anything wrong. If you're going to take a bottle, you're going to try to pour into the other bottle, directly from bottle to bottle, it'll cause a mess, there'll be spillage. ולכן, המעוניין להעביר את המשקה בשלמותו, but if you want to make sure that you give over the whole thing, and the whole thing goes into the bottle and doesn't pour out on the outside, חייב לעשות זאת באמצעות משפך. It must be done through a mashpech. A mashpech is a funnel. We're creating funnels in this shiur. Hopefully, Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach. It's funnel making. That's really, when I was going over this, especially the beginning of this sefer, that's really the ikar nekuda. If you want to, like someone says, well, what are you guys doing in that shiur? You could really say funnel building. It's a, sometimes we say these words and it's like, it sounds funny, but like, sometimes actually like one word defines the whole mahut of what you're trying to do, and it gives us a better approach to grasp what it is we're trying to do here, what it is we're trying to learn, what it is we're trying to create. And it may sound funny to the outside, obviously, but to the inside, whatever. I've shared this many times that Toby Cram and I were one time together in somewhere in the States for Shabbos, and it was a big balabatim, okay, a dining room that literally, I think one or two, well, you were there, and someone else in this room was there, where the living room, the dining room table started here and ended past that wall. One of those types of dining rooms, Or you don't know. You don't know. It exists. Okay? It exists. So a lot of machas were there. I had to do a tishnar on Friday night. And I was there with Toby, who was, Baruch Hashem, he does so much for Am Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, for our community. And he's a very serious job, obviously. So, before Shabbos, I told him, everyone, obviously, the society we live in is that when you meet somebody, they ask you, what do you do? It's like the first, not who you are. Who are you? No one says, hi, shalom aleichem, I'm shalom. Who are you? What do you do? Question. I have one friend who made Aliyah from Boston. I asked him that also when I was a guest in his house, and he said to me, it was so beautiful, he said, listen, I'll tell you the truth. I'd rather ask a different question, because I asked him, what does he do? He said, I can give you an answer that defines how I make money to put food in the fridge, but that doesn't define who I am at all. Let me tell you who I am. We're very good friends. I saw this guy last night. We're very good friends till today. So I told Toby, I said, listen, it's obvious the Chaver are going to ask you, what are you busy doing? Like, what do you do? And I want you to tell them that you're a soul circumciser, you're a heart circumciser. Or less halev, you open, you're opening your heart. You're working on opening your heart. It's like, listen, you're gonna see how you feel afterwards too. Kamuvan, we go to the table. The tish begins. People are storming in. This is my chaver, Toby Cramp, Meretz Yisrael. And no one there knew him, so they asked him. So, and then it came. What do you do? Oh, I kicked him under the table. And he's like, I was like, oh, I can't, like, listen, you got to do it. And it was so amazing because he said, the only time I wish it wasn't Shabbos was that Friday night, so I got to have it on recording. He said, I'm a soul, I think he said I'm a heart circumciser. I circumcise my heart. Something like that. You can just imagine what the room looked like when he said it. It was an unbelievable moment, right? However, in the emes la'amito, in the world of emes, Obviously, it's fun. Sounds funny. It's not the way we speak, but in the world of emes, if we could answer that question of who you are and what do you do or what are you working on, and not answer it based on how much on what you do to make money, because not everyone is blessed to be involved in a miktsah that which brings them money is really what defines them. Some people are, but some people aren't. But in a world of chinuch, to be able to define it and say, listen, as a first shiur, what would you say like this shita is? Okay, so we could say, Rav Schwartz is telling us that what's the world of chinuch? It's understanding how to create a funnel. Mamash mashpech. It's to create a funnel between what you want to give, what you believe needs to be given, and make sure that it goes inside. Because quite often we just pour on what we think is the emes, and you can't understand. How could this be? I put it. It's the same thing like bottles. That's why he brought that mashal. And we have to visualize this while we learn this. You have to internalize it, think about it in our own lives, and see and notice these things happen quite often. Back inside, ולכן, top line, ולכן המעוניין להעביר את המשקה בשלמותו, חייב לעשות זאת באמצעות משפך. אותו כלי, what's a משפך? Now what does a funnel look like? אותו כלי שראשו הוא בעל פייה רחבה, שהולך ונהיה צר כלפי מטה. A funnel, its opening is, its mouth is wide, and the more you go with it, the more it gets smaller, the more narrow it becomes. בדרכו, it's through the משפך, שניתן להעביר את המשקה, בשלמות מבקבוק אחד לחברו, and you could then proceed to then transfer what you're trying to transfer in a more מדויק way, in a more exact way. והנמשל, that was the mashal, that's the parable. Obviously, what's the nimshal? What are we learning from this mashal? ההורים הבוגרים הינם בעלי פייה רחבה. Adults, parents, the ones that are on the older, the ones that fall under the mechanech status, he says over here, they're the opening of the mashpech that's open and wide, right? לעומת ילדיהם שהם בעלי פייה צרה, as opposed to their children, that their piyah, their opening is much more narrow. You could say they're the deepest, and it's true, v'chule, but really their piyah is tsar. It's narrow. בדרכו פיה צרה, ובדרך כלל, listen to this. Usually, הפער שקיים בין גילאי ההורה והילד אינו משפיע רק על רמת התפיסה השכלית, אלא אף על רמת התפיסה הרגשית. Generally speaking, the par, you know what par means? The gap. The gap that's between the age of a parent to a child doesn't only affect the level of mental perception, but also affects the level of emotional perception. He says, b'derech klal. I want to say that line again. The gap that exists between the ages of a parent to a child doesn't only affect the mental perception, the tfisa ha-sichlit, ela af al tfisa ha-rikshit, but also the emotional perception. V'lachen yesh haktzana, therefore there is a haktzana. That comes from the word kitzoni. Haktzana means extremism. Ben ramat התפיסה המחודדת של ההורים לזו של הילדים. You ever catch yourself and say to your child, or think, hopefully you just think this in your mind, or hopefully you don't think it in your mind, but if it happens to be, it comes across, you think it in your mind, you're saying, how could you not understand what I just said? How could it be that what I said wasn't clear? How was it possible for you to not absorb what I just, I think, said very clearly? I was very clear. I was very clear. And you're wondering, how could it be that it didn't go through? Right? So, you see, those of you that have been learning together for a while, you see that I'm really working hard on avoiding tangents right now. Like I'm trying so hard to, because it can go, we could go anywhere over here right now, right? Also, Ilana's in the room, I'm petrified to even speak about these things in front of you. You're our home's Rebbe of chinuch, so I'm trying really hard to just stick to a shita over here. But this is very important to understand that the age differentiation affects all ramot, all levels of perception that we have between parents and children. And therefore, sometimes you feel like you're living on two completely different planets. I have one time a tangent that's shayach. A father came to speak with me, and he said to me he's having a very hard time talking to the Ribono Shel Olam. I said, why? He said, because he knows that his child is very special. And he knows his wife is amazing. He knows his child is special. But he said that he thinks the Ribono Shel Olam has stuck it to him. I said, why? He said, because he can't understand how it will ever be possible to convey to his child anything because they're so different. He doesn't see himself in his child at all. He has other children. He sees himself in his other children. He doesn't see himself in this child at all. Nothing. And it drives him crazy all the time. And it's not that things are so bad at home. We're not going to a dugma kitzonit. It's not an extreme. He sits in a situation where he feels that he's paying for averas from, I don't know, chatos neurim, a previous gilgul or something, because he feels that there's simply no funnel that could exist, because there's not the proper. It's like he uses a C chord instead of and his son uses the regular iPhone chord, whatever, you know what I mean? Like there's a pashut ze lo mistader. So it's easy to knock off a person like that and say, you think the Ribono Shel Olam made a mistake by giving you this child? Right? And we hear an example like that. Do you know how many people feel like that? Do you know how many parents feel like that? Not that really it's a mistake, but that they're in what's called choser onim. Choser onim means helpless. Like we're so different. The way what we like is different. How we express ourselves is different. Our hobbies are different. Our whole tzius is different over here. In this sefer, we're going to be showing that each person that exists in this world that was gifted with a child was also gifted with the deep, deep ability to dig deep enough to understand there's a funnel that will be created for each child. And what the funnel that works for the older child may be a completely different funnel that works for number 2 or number 3 or number 4. That's obviously the bekitzer of chinuch lanar al pi darko that a person has to realize. When the Chazal said chinuch lanar al pi darko, that if you understand that each child needs something else, then the rest of the pasuk really makes sense. Because the rest of the pasuk, everyone knows the beginning, chinuch lanar al pi darko. Anyone knows the rest of it? Gam ki yaskin lo yoser mimeno. That also when they get older, they won't go astray from that funnel that was created just for them. Shar Yichud Ve'emunah, the Alter Rebbe goes deep into this in Shar Yichud Ve'emunah, the beginning of Shar Yichud Ve'emunah, which is the second portion of the Sefer Tanya. The Alter Rebbe goes very deep in this. See, what do we care more about? That they listen to us now, or that the funnel that we create for them lasts with them forever? Gam ki yaskin lo yoser mimeno. That's what we're trying to create. That's the type of funnel we're trying to create. And we'll describe this more in detail as we go along. So just one more paragraph. Harei shechayav liyot ke'ein mashpech. There's got to be some type of funnel sheyegasher ben hamechanech mitzad echad lachanich mitzad sheni, sheyesayeh lehavir et advarim me'hamechanech lachanich. That'll help the father, the mother, be able to understand how to give over to their children. Ubarur hadavar, what's clear is, shekol tchuna הנהגה או מידה טובה שאינם קיימים אצל המחנך, לא שייך להעבירם לחניך. He's making, it sounds funny, but it's actually very important. I'll translate this. Don't be a hypocrite. You can't be a hypocrite, meaning it's impossible.
Because that's not emes, and the bridge is
Because the
emes.
bridge is emes. But this is such an important thing to harp on, because what he said over here is like, there are a lot of things you know that you want your child to have, that you know you want your child to understand. And you'll say, even though I didn't get it, my children's going to have it. How many times have I heard that? Okay, I didn't get this, but at least my children will have it. That, you know what ends up happening with those situations?
You have a lot of entitled children.
Entitled children, or you have the famous mitzias of like, you definitely did not make the same mistakes your parents did. You were right. You just made completely new mistakes that never existed before. Right, it's true, and you're not going to be your mother, but then your child's basically going to say, oh, I'm not going to be my mother either, meaning you can't give over to someone something that you don't have. We said it on Shabbos. The Pasuk says in Tehillim that we're going to be saying a lot now, Al tashlichenu milfanecha v'ruach kodeshecha al tikach mimenu. Don't cast us away from before you, and don't take away from us your Ruach HaKodesh. What did you basically say with that statement? That we have Ruach HaKodesh. Because if you're saying, don't take away from me your Ruach HaKodesh, what am I basically saying? Well, you can only take away from me something that I have. That means it's like David HaMelech sneaking in some type of deep self-consciousness and awareness. It's sublime. It's very deep how he does it. Al tash, bless you, al tashlichenu milfanecha, veruach kodeshecha al tikach mimenu. Hai mashma, this means, right, in the Gemara, maybe you'd say, miklal lav atashomea hen, which means from pointing out what we're asking Hashem not to take away from us, we're also aware of what we have. It's just too weird if we got up and we said, we have Ruach HaKodesh. Don't take it away from us. That's too bizarre. Here he's saying, quite often parents are adamant on giving over things that they know are of value and important to their children. But how could you give over to your child something that you don't have? It's not emet. Even if you give over things on a level of information, it's still not the gesher that we're speaking about. The gesher that we're speaking about is called emet. And therefore it has to go through a real identity, a real hizdahut. How do you say hizdahut?
Identification.
No, there's a word, hizdahut. It's ani mizdaheh. Align. Sorry, maybe mizdaheh is not the right word. I'm aligned with it, but it's even more than aligned with it. I have it and I can give it over to you. Authenticity. Yeah. So he says over here again, Barur hadavar, shekol tchuna, hanhaga umida tova, all the good zachen, all the good things you want to give over to your child, she'enam kayamim etzel hamechanech, that you don't have, lo shayach la'aviram lachanich. You can't give that over, what you don't have. Ve'im ken, therefore, he said, I should have written a different book. Why? T'nai kodem lechinuch hu binyan hanefesh haprati shel hamechanech. Really, a prerequisite, a condition for anyone learning a sefer like this should be, well, I have to build a binyan of a nefesh of myself. But he did. Baruch Hashem write many books like this that build the nefesh. And we're constantly learning this stuff anyway. And he says, "B'mizgeret zo einenu asokim bekach." This sefer is not character development for the parent. That's not what this sefer is. Things will come up. You will learn things about yourself as you learn. But that's not the ikar of the sefer. We have Mesilas Yesharim. We have Derech Hashem. We have plenty of svarim that build the binyan hanefesh by the parent. This sefer is not addressing that. This sefer is more addressing a parent that may have the most incredible binyan hanefesh and may have no idea how to properly funnel that to their child. Can you imagine such a thing? You could be a very put together person. You have a binyan of your nefesh, and yet you may still not be able to give that over to your child. Because it's a whole avoda. It's a deep avoda. A very deep avoda. Not just the binyan of the nefesh, but then the inyan of chinuch. That's a whole other world. B'chol dvareinu hem le'achar hatnai harishoni v'absisi. All the words we are saying right now are after this first prerequisite. שהמחנך יכול לחנך ולהעביר לחניך רק את הדברים שהוא עצמו השתלם בהם. You can only really give over to your child things that you could say you're holding in. You're holding in. או עסוק מאוד להשתלם בהם, which is basically what will bring you back next shiur if you're real. Meaning, if it's stopped before the comma, none of you should come back here next. None of you would feel like you'd want to come back to next shiur.
I was just going to ask, like, what if your kid is seeing you work on something?
That's why, thank God he added that.
Yeah.
100% effort is 100% success.
What's that?
100% effort is 100% success.
Thank God. That's really the comma. That's after the comma. If he stopped before the comma, how could anyone come to a shiur like that? How could I learn this? How could I teach? How could any of us do this? But he said, because he says in the beginning, the mechanech all of our words in this book is only when a mechanech can give over the things that they have mishtalem bahem. Mishtalem means are holding, they're fully in. Mastered, yeah. No. Or, thank God he added, or things that they're very, very busy, putting a lot of effort in, which I know that most of us are. And for me, that's the heter to continue with the sefer like this. And that's why I was so petrified of this sefer. For the last few years in Chodesh Elul and Chodesh Av, I would look through this sefer, and I probably skipped over this paragraph because it was in parentheses, which many of us feel like, oh, those aren't important. Sometimes the most important things are in there, right? And I was thinking, who could, right? How could we learn such Torah? He says, no. What's the proof that you're osek, that you're busy putting the effort in this type of avoda on yourself of the binyan of the nefesh? What's the proof? That you're here. That you show up. So what we're going to be explaining next week, please God, is what is this funnel? Now we know we have to create a funnel. But next week we're going to be describing, going more in detail of, so what is this actual funnel through which basically all of our dreams for the home we want to live in and create are based on. And it's a beautiful journey, mamash. And I find this to be so shayach also for Chodesh Elul, like we're starting right now. This is mamash like yesodos work. This is real tshuva work as well. And please God, we're going to have a lot of atzlacha as we embark on this journey. And I thank you all for showing up, continuing to show up like you do. And I give us a bracha to be vulnerable enough that there's places in this sefer it's going to touch some very sensitive chords, I'm sure, if they haven't already this morning. I don't know. For me, at least it has. So I can just imagine for you as well. We'll get through it together, Be'ezrat Hashem, B'simcha. All right, Shavua Tov, everyone.